Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Art Thompson. I'm the Director of North Dakota Workforce Safety and Insurance. And as mentioned, this is the Get Home Safe Safety Panel discussion. Get Home Safe is a campaign that WSI started last summer in conjunction with the North Dakota Governor's Office and the North Dakota Department of Health. And what it is a means to try to change the safety culture throughout North Dakota, in that making safety relatable to how it would impact a person's personal lives, you know, if they do sustain an accident at work. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is to provide resources to every business in North Dakota, whether they're large or small, on a monthly basis that they can utilize to help mitigate injuries that we are seeing as WSI coming into our office. So whether it's slips, trips, and falls, whether it's fall protection, whether it's other types of motor vehicle accidents, things like that come through, we're able to look at all that data and put out safety alerts and then provide that safety training material to those who sign up at GetHomeSafeND.com free of charge. It's included with your premiums, and be able to provide that material to any business. So whether you have a strong safety culture in your office and you have a dedicated safety program, you can use that to supplement what you're doing. If you're a small business and maybe you're in a position where you're the accountant, you're the HR person, you're the safety manager, and you don't have time to look for tools and resources, we're providing those to you as part of our mission to care for injured workers and to provide safety services to help lower the number of workplace injuries and fatalities in North Dakota. So that's a little bit about the campaign. Just by a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with it? All right, so, well, I would hope everybody here is. Good answer, you're doing great. You're doing great so far. Anyway, if you're not familiar with it, I'd encourage you to check it out. So with us today, we have a variety of individuals from different industries throughout North Dakota, throughout different regions. And at this time, I'd like the panelists to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about your career and your industry, and let the group know who you are. So we'll start with you, Reier.
Great, thanks Art. Hello everyone, I'm Reier Thompson, and I'm President and CEO of Missouri Slope here in Bismarck. We're a senior living organization, and we serve nursing facilities, we have assisted living facilities, and our newest service line is a new at-home care program that we just started in the last couple years. Our organization has been around since 1967. And over the last couple of years, we've grown from being a single campus or single site to being two campuses and two sites. And so that's introduced a lot of new opportunities to think about the way that we work safely and the different things that we're doing. So I kind of grew up in this space of healthcare, senior living. My first job was as a trade carrier as a 14-year-old working at Missouri Slope, and off and on through college and things like that. But happy to be representing Missouri Slope and our industry here at the safety conference here in 2025. Our organization has had a long history and culture of safety programs and safety awareness. We became VPP, Voluntary Protection Program Star certified in 2007. So it exceeds my tenure there, but I'm just happy to try and keep it going.
Thanks, Art. Thank you, WSI, for letting us come up here and present today. My name is Jesse Olson. I am a health and safety, brand new title, Cord Energy. I am a health and safety advisor, training and culture. So 3 weeks in with that particular title, so it's fairly new to me, but as you can tell, culture is one of the biggest things that I think are our challenges, and it's really, it's a proud moment to actually have that in my title. Cord Energy, if you don't know what Cord Energy is, just a really quick, we're an oil and gas producer, E&P company out west. Working in the Bakken oil field, primarily North Dakota, Montana, but we're the combination of a few companies over some attrition, some combinations of different companies. We're about 2.5 years young. So Cord Energy is still fairly immature in the space. of organizations. 2.5 years is not a very long time, but we come from some historical backgrounds. So I'm a guy from out west. I went to college out west. I currently live out west, and I do not plan to leave out west, North Dakota. So thanks for having us.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patty Furuseth, and I'm an advanced personal safety professional with Marathon Petroleum. I have about 17 years in the industry of oil and gas. And Marathon Petroleum, you might recognize that big refinery over there in Mandan when you drive by on the interstate. Well, that refinery has to get crude oil from somewhere, and that's from the subsidiary known as MPLX GMP, which is our gathering and processing group. And we have miles and miles of pipe out in North Dakota. We also have gas plants, 2 of them that we operate and do our best to take advantage of gas that comes from those producing wells rather than just flaring to the atmosphere. And this campaign for the Get Home Safe is something that's very near and dear to me because I lost my father-in-law when I was 20 years old in a workplace accident. And I know firsthand the effects of what that can do to a family when you lose someone. Also, when I got my start in the field back during the boom, I had about maybe 2-3 hours of training when I went out there. And you have to understand that prior to that, I was an administrative assistant for about 10 years. And I had an opportunity to go to the field for a chemical oil field company. And that was as a field tech, and then later on as an account manager. And then they later asked me to go into safety. And so as a new hire, and I think you might all agree that they're probably our most vulnerable group of workers in that first year, I completely understand what it's like to find yourself in situations where you don't know what could potentially kill you. And not being able to have that hazard recognition, how dangerous that is. So I'm very happy and proud to be here, Art. I appreciate the invitation, and I look forward to hearing the questions from the audience and hearing what's concerning all of you as well. So thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nate Sandberg. I'm a vice president and a safety manager for Northern Improvement Company. We are a heavy highway road construction general contractor. Our corporate office is in Fargo. We have offices in Bismarck and Dickinson. We primarily do municipal road work, asphalt, concrete, interstate work, airports, large dirt projects. So typically we are the GC dealing with subcontractors. I've been with Northern for 10 years now in the safety role since 2017, and just excited to be here. Appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you very much for the introductions. As you can see, I mean, diverse group geographically and industry-wise, but we all share the common goal. Everybody up here employs a tremendous number of people, and we want to make sure that when they come to work and they go home from work, it's in the same condition, right? And they're able to get up and come back to work day in and day out for us. And that's part of building that safety culture, right? And you talked about that, Jesse, and that's even in your title. And so that's really the goal of the Get Home Safe ND campaign, is to change the mindset. I'm a lifelong North Dakotan, right? And grew up with the mindset that we're gonna get her done, no matter what. Well, sometimes the no matter what is what gets us in trouble. And so how do you change that culture? How do you change that mindset? That's part of Get Home Safe. And so I'd like to hear from all of you, when you hear that slogan, Get Home Safe, you know, what does that mean to you both personally and professionally? And then how do you try to pass that on to your team members? So Reier, if you want to start.
He handed me the mic. Personally, Get Home Safe is very straightforward. My goal is at the end of each day to be in good condition so I can get home safe to my family and be number one husband and father as much as I can be. And I think that kind of same attitude is what we think of professionally. I know that we want everybody to love their job and to treat it as number one, but it's never going to be number one. Your family and your faith, hopefully, are probably going to be number 1 and 2 above your job. So we want to allow people to have the most safe setting at work, whether that means the equipment that we purchases that we make, or the people that we hire, the job descriptions that we create. everything needs to have that as part of it. It's part of the evaluation when we're adding new positions always. And so the Get Home Safe, I guess it is. It's just that straightforward. What are we doing to help people assure that when they come to work at Missouri Slope, that we're going to prioritize them, their safety, their health, so that they can have a long career? Because also that's going to help us at the end of the day. It's going to help us from premium standpoint. It's going to help us with recruitment and retention. It's going to help with quality. When we have turnover, quality goes down. People depend on consistency in all industries, but especially ours. When we're working, it's humans working with humans in long-term care. And the people we care for, they want consistency, and it shows when you have that caregiver that can recognize the individual needs and wants of that resident. You don't learn that in the first 24 hours. It takes time to get that. And so we want people to be there for more than a year, more than 5 years if possible. We've got some people, we just celebrated, 47 years is currently the one that we just celebrated on back in December. So we've got a lot of longevity around Missouri Slope. Not everybody is that long. I'm at 11 years myself. So I think that's part of the testament to Missouri Slope is I've been there this long, and a lot of our team members have, because it is a place where we know we can get home safe.
Wow, I'm going to follow that up, Reier. Good job. So I'm going to take this to a personal level. So Get Home Safe to me, I was thinking about the concepts and the realities of it and why our jobs exist. But I live in a small little development, 14 houses. And as I go down the row of those houses, I look at the occupations. We've got nurses, we've got engineers. I've got quite a few oil and gas folks. We've got some electricians. I've got some folks that work in the education industries. Got myself that works in the oil and gas industry. And any given night, that school bus stops and drops off. There must be 15, 20 little kids. Mine are gone. They were there at one point, but there's 15 to 20 little kids that get off that school bus. Those parents are exposed every single day. So Get Home Safe means those kids actually have somebody that when they get off the bus, they've got someone to give them a hug. So we've coined a phrase probably 10, 15 years ago. I think one of the guys in the room actually helped us do it. But a few years back, our team said, what is it we want to do? And it's sending you home to the regions you come to work. So that's Get Home Safe.
Well, I mentioned in my previous comments about my father-in-law and how impactful that was to our family. And when I was a 20-year-old kid, I had no idea I was going to become a safety professional one day. But understanding the ramifications, the deep hurt, the sense of loss that comes from losing someone in such a sudden fashion has stayed with me my entire life. Not having the opportunity to say the unsaid things, to clear up maybe some differences that you might have had with a family member. But my father-in-law, Raymond, worked in the briquetting plant out in Dickinson, and that was a different time when safety wasn't exactly the forefront. Now, the folks in North Dakota, we are doers, and particularly in the oil and gas industry, we really do have that get her done attitude. And so I see myself as an advocate for safety and as a pivot point for change, to just start having those conversations with people so that they can appreciate the lessons that I've learned. I hope, so many of us have to learn from our own personal experiences, but I share my story so that others don't have to go through that terrific heartbreak that we went through as a family. And I also think about my granddaughter, Indy, and why I want to get home to her and see her beautiful little face. And I want her to have the opportunity to work in this industry too. Also with that mindset that safety comes first, because people are truly our greatest asset.
I guess ditto to what everybody else said. Obviously, providing the training, the resources, the tools, the PPE, everything that goes along with safety, protecting your people so everybody can go home at the end of the day. Show of hands, how many people have driven through a construction site? Okay. Looks like about everybody. So it's also part of our duty to protect the traveling public with our construction sites. Our engineers, our testers, our subcontractors, so that everybody that's working around our job sites can go home at the end of the day. So.
All right. Well, and a lot of great answers here and a lot of things to follow up on. I've been given a list of questions to ask, and I know that we're not going to get through all of them because there's certain things I'm going to want to try to pinpoint in on based on your answers. But one of the things, and it's interesting, Patty mentioned when you started in this business, you had 2 hours of training, and the people that come into it don't get a lot of training, especially during the boom, or that was the case. So everywhere I travel, and I used to work in the construction trades as well prior to this job, is workforce is a major issue. And one of the statistics that we have at WSI, we had over 17,000 injury claims come in last year. 33% of those claims came from people that were employed 1 year or less with their company. So I know how many people in this room don't have workforce shortage challenges. Wow, nobody's raising their hand. That's surprising. No. But in those statistics that I mentioned, it's not just somebody that's 18, 19, 20, in the beginning of their career. That spans over all age categories. So just because somebody comes into your operation and has 20 years of experience, but they're working for a different company, they don't know how you want things done, how your equipment works. So how do you maybe talk a little bit about how do you make sure that when you have new hires coming into your operations, you make sure, or what are some tips to help you make sure that you don't put them in the field and on their own, prior to them being ready? Do you want to start, Jesse?
I can start from my perspective. So to understand the oil and gas industry, Core Energy, we're a corporation of about 500 direct employees. Much like some of you in the room, there's a lot of other people that impact our organization, that assists us, that partner with us, and that actually get more work done than I do. And for Core Energy, that's about 1,000 more contract companies. So we've got 500 internal, we've got about 1,000 contract companies, and there's only a few bodies out there to actually try to help manage those individuals. So as they come into the organization, the first thing that I can recognize that I think is making an impact is this. These companies that start up with our organization are not just forced, but asked, requested to sit in the room, to look at each other in the eyes, and to address their operations managers, the leadership, about what is the expectation coming to your organization. I think those direct impacts, those very personal connections can make a big difference, because how are you ever in this world, 1,000 companies, just say an average of 10 people per company, say we have 10,000 people working for Core Energy, because I can't count them. I've asked our folks, nobody knows how many people we literally have working on a given day. There's a lot. So we are trying to force these encouraging occasions to where we can say and look at you in the eyes and understand your families and where do you come from, and develop a culture. That's one example.
So on a more individual level, for our company employees that we onboard, we have a set of courses that they have to take, and some of them are on CBT. And I try to take it the next step, at least with everyone in my area that I cover, which also includes 2 rail terminals, which I forgot to mention before. But I make time in my schedule to sit down with them as people and find out, how long have you been in the industry? What's your background? Tell me a little bit about yourself. We exchange phone numbers so that they know that I'm there for them 24/7 if they have a safety question. Even if they have years and years of experience, I find out where's their mindset as far as safety goes. And perhaps they're a natural safety leader. If so, then I know that I've got a willing partner and someone that can help mentor somebody else, even right out of the gate when they're hired for us. And the other part too is getting to know our contractors. Jesse, just like you mentioned, that's a really big challenge for us. So when I first started with Marathon, I was voluntold, I was told that you need to start a contractor safety committee. Okay, great. How do we do that? And we've kept it going now for 7 years, and getting out there, talking to people, being a phone number, being a person that you can call and ask a question to. We roll out a new standard. I don't understand it. I have questions for it. To be a person that they can actually connect with and a subject matter expert that they can go to is huge. And I remember that from my service company days. Have you ever been there where you show up to location and you suddenly get yelled at because you're not following the rules, but nobody told you those were the rules? And that's a really bad day. And you're like, I would have done it if I just would have known. So I really strive to be that person that's a point of contact for all the people that I do business with. And I think it's really paid off. And I hope to continue that. And I hope that others take that initiative as well to be that leader. If you see that something's missing in your safety program, go ahead. Try to be the person behind that initiative to get change going.
All right. Sounds like we've had some trial by fire. I'm sure none of you who are safety professionals have had to, get pushed into the deep end of the pool and figure it out. But as time has gone on and you've matured in your roles, what's one key safety lesson that you've learned that's helped you be successful in either developing an initiative or implementing a policy and getting buy-in? What's probably your biggest learning aha moment in your career so far when it comes to keeping your team members safe?
I think it's kind of building on what Jesse and Patty were saying, but as the numbers get bigger, you can't do it all alone. You got to divide and conquer. And so for us, it's finding safety champions, and you're doing that throughout all of our different departments. A lot of times, we'll pair up new people with mentors. We've got a thriving mentor program, so people aren't hitting the first shift, so to say, without having any direction or any of the rules given to them or anything like that. But for me, it's been about that divide and conquer. So being able to trust and hold people accountable for setting their own goals and reaching their own goals, and then working with them when the goals aren't met, but having the opportunity to do that in a way that's not punitive. Having the listening round tables and having the opportunities to go out and be out there, managed by walking around, going out. It's not everybody coming to you all the time. So just the different ways that you can get the information so that we can put these initiatives and things in the works.
I would say, in my experience, it's been just investing in people, getting to know people, remembering their names. Everybody's human, everybody has value within a company. Treat them with respect, and you'll probably get a lot more buy-in, especially from the safety department. So I guess that's been a big takeaway in my career.
No, okay. All right. Times have evolved. We've mentioned that we learn as we go, but we also look at technology as an evolution. And this is probably a question for all of you because different industries, and so there's a tremendous amount of safety technologies coming into the marketplace. And at WSI, we recognize that not everybody can invest in those, and which ones are going to have the most bang for their buck. And so recently we started a safety technology grant pilot program where we will help businesses invest in different technologies. We've selected 10 businesses the first round, and the technologies and the companies will work with them to monitor the technologies, and we'll do case studies and report those back to our companies that purchase coverage from us. In your industries, how has technology changed the game when it comes to safety? How do you evaluate which resource you're going to implement, and have you seen some significant positive changes? So I'm not sure Patty, you want to start this one?
Many years ago, as a group, the Bakken Basin Safety Consortium and the Neutral Grounds Group, we became very concerned regarding the amount of people who were engaging in manual tank gauging. And we had folks going up on top of tanks, they're opening thief hatches, they're being exposed to hydrocarbons, they might have been overcome. We had some fatalities during those years. And one of the technologies that we moved to as an industry was automatic tank gauging. And I have no doubt that that has saved countless lives. The other technology was the 4-gas monitor, which has become the everyday standard now. But we have to remember that as an industry, it started in North Dakota. Through the operators and producers, we all met as a group through those consortiums, and we said, we're going to require our contractors to do that. So we were leading edge in that, which has now become the national standard for safety. And so I think to have those conversations is very important about with each other, where are we being challenged, and to come up with solutions together so that our contractors can go to any of our sites and know that that's the expectation. As far as the new worker, we do, of course, we are struggling to find the right workers, the ones that are educated. So we're also partnering with Bismarck State College, for example, on their energy program. MPLX recently donated a LACT unit. And so that will allow the students in that energy program to learn a little bit more about that technology and to perhaps have a better experience when they first come in. So getting that hands-on training for that.
A newer technology that is being used in healthcare is something called real-time location system. And I'm actually wearing a RTLS tag here myself. And so it's been something that's been around for a little bit. It's still being perfected, but we're using it to place badges on pieces of equipment, for instance. And so when we're looking to go and service a piece of equipment or just need to use it, rather than calling around and saying, has anybody seen lift number 33 and trying to go find it, we're just wasting a lot of time doing that. So RTLS allows us to find things a lot quicker and stop wasting time walking around and look for it. And because when we're in a hurry and we're trying to find something, then we're going to take shortcuts, right? And we're trying to eliminate that. So the RTLS is just, there's so much more you can do with it. We can put tags on our residents like Apple Watches. And so if we're trying to locate someone and maybe it's an emergency, usually it's just a drill, but you got to treat it like it's a real emergency, right? And so we can quickly find out, is everybody accounted for? Is everybody out of the, where the fire drill, the hallway where they're supposed to be evacuated from? So we can use it for a real life safety drill just like that. It can be used to communicate. It can be used as a resident maybe is needing some attention and they're down in the chapel and they discreetly need to get a hold of someone to help them. Well, now they can push their button and that'll take care of it and it'll send the signal to the caregivers. The caregivers will know exactly where they're located, where to go get them. Again, reducing time looking around for people. For employees, for me and for caregivers wearing it, we can take credit. We can take credit for the work that we're doing. We might get a call from a family member where they say, I don't think mom's been checked on for 4 hours or for 12 hours. Well, now we can find out by looking at the real-time location data, find actually, there's been this many people in there over the course of the last 8 or 12 hours. And so it's an emerging piece of technology with a lot of different types of uses, but it's one of the newer ones that we're seeing in our space. And we're seeing asset management in particular is kind of where this started. We're seeing an ROI where we're not losing and having equipment break down as much because we're able to find the equipment and service the equipment when it needs to be serviced.
I guess for us, for construction, it's the technology on equipment, setting parameters, when trenching and excavation. If you got overhead power lines above you, you can set parameters so you don't get into the power lines. The manual labor of the old days of setting string line for concrete paving, it's all GPS now, stringless paving, so you have reduced injuries for that, repetitive movements. Setting blue tops, that's all GPS on equipment as well. So I would say the biggest thing for us has been technology advances in equipment and GPS.
Yeah, and I can add another Cord Energy one. A lot of folks in the energy field, and some of these that aren't, I'll describe what we're talking about. So Cord Energy, right? We have a lot of wells. We've got a lot of oil wells out in the countryside, but they break. When they break, we hire someone else to fix them. So service providers, there's probably some in the room here that run service rigs. Service rigs are pretty tall pieces of equipment. They haven't changed much over the last 60 to 70 years. Technology has not given an advantage to those individuals. They're exposed to weather, big lifts, a lot of heavy stuff that can fall on them. So one example I can give you is that we're working with those service providers to say, how come we can't change this technology? Why can't we give you some safer mechanisms? So for Cord Energy, we have one of our superintendents in our workover space. He and I actually flew down to Oklahoma this last winter and met with the manufacturers of those rigs. And we went to that manufacturer and said, hey, how come we're not adding simple safety devices on these particular rigs? Guess what they said? Nobody asked us for that. They can do it. Their engineering practices and protocols already have these safety devices built. They've never been asked. So advantages of technology is understanding where the gaps are, working with those providers, and then also the service companies and saying there's a reason we want this done. And it's not, it's not a cost thing, and it's a care thing. We don't want these people to continue to get hurt. So technology can be our best friend and our worst enemy if we don't use it to its advantage.
Wow, great answers, everybody, and a wide variety of things that hopefully you're able to take back and think about and implement it at your own operations. Working with manufacturers, working with others to try to implement and change the system. Nate, would you care to share with the group recently how getting involved politically and trying to make some changes that way? What you and the AGC have been doing within the North Dakota legislative session?
Sure. So currently, the fine for speeding through a construction zone is $80. I don't know if any of you think that $80 is very much. It's really not that much anymore. And to protect someone's life at $80 really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to us. So we took it to legislation, and we testified, are looking to increase it to $150 and remove the when workers are present. So we've passed the Senate so far. This is my first time ever being involved with any type of legislation, so it's definitely been an interesting road. But if it's needed, I think we all should get involved and try to make some changes for sure to better protect our people.
All right. So we're talking about working with equipment manufacturers, we're working with our legislative leaders, working with our own companies, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do to protect our team members when they're out in the field. But at the end of the day, the argument is, well, we still have a job to get done. We still have the bottom line, right? Sure, we can invest millions of dollars in technologies, but how does that make us more profitable? How does that make us more productive? So how do you balance that fine line between the safety of your team members while meeting production goals? Any tips, tricks, tools of the trade, best practices you'd like to share in that arena? Go ahead.
I'm gonna get stoned for this one. I don't know if any of you guys know Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe has a theory about safety, and unfortunately or fortunately, I believe it. Safety third is actually the reality. The reality is jobs have to get done. I'm a realist. We know that this process exists, that we have to pull oil and gas out of the ground, or we're gonna take care of some people through their aging. So the job has to exist. So what are we gonna do to plan and prepare for the team members to ensure that operationally we plan and prepare and make sure all these decisions are made that we get to come home safe? So I'm a believer in safety third. And just the reality that the world exists because we have jobs to do. So my theory.
I would say for us, it's just been a buy-in from senior management. Obviously, when they buy into safety, it seems like your production and your profits go up as well. taking care of your people. So that's been a big part for us.
For me, when I first started in this role, I took it upon myself to reach out to a number of different project engineers and to just say, you know what, I'm here. Would you please involve me in your project planning? So right from the onset, when we're doing design reviews, when we're looking at route reviews, to have a voice at that table to say, hey, let's put safety here at this part so that when it comes time for commissioning, that we don't have to stop work. We can look at the technologies perhaps that we can incorporate into a project, or just have a different set of eyes. Environmental is also a big part of that. And I remind the guys and gals a lot is none of us really want to go out there and stop work. So what we want to do though is be part of your process right from the start. And we will help analyze the job that you have to do. And another thing too is owning the job site. So we have inspectors, third party, that will write safe work permits for us. We will write our own. But part of getting that job done is how we manage our time. And for those of you that work for MPLX, I think you all know that it will take a little bit in the morning to get your safe work permit and to do something that's called a joint job site visit. But we have a saying at our company, and it goes, there's always time to do it right. And we will talk about that amongst ourselves. That's part of our culture, that we have to make time for that. And so we try to budget that in to our projects. It used to be when contractors would bid a project for us, the goal was we can do this we can do this project, say it's a pipeline project, we're gonna do it for you in 3 weeks. Well, that means that you're gonna be rushing through that project. We no longer look for that in a contractor. When we have our bid meetings now, we explain, we don't care if it's gonna take you 4 to 6 weeks. You have to allow for the time to do it safely. And so we are spreading that message to our contractors. We spread that to our workers to make the time to do your hazard assessments. No one's gonna get in trouble for that. We need you to do that. That's how each of us owns that project when we're working together in the field.
Yeah, I'd add to Patty's. I think it starts with, the leadership recognizing that where the priorities are. And for us, we've actually had to incrementally add people over the years. I mean, things are always getting more complicated. There's always more regulations. There's always new technology and things that you got to learn and operate. So it's not that we're going to be able to just continuously add to people's plates without expecting that we're going to have more people at some point. And so we recognize that and we commit to that. But honestly, it's been paying off for us at Missouri Slope, because when we have more people, for instance, we don't do any lifts unless there's 2 people. Could one person do a lift? Sure. You guys probably help your own elderly, grandparents or parents someday, and you're gonna lift them by yourself, but not at the nursing home. Every time we do a lift, it's a 2-person lift. So we've had to add people, but it pays off because now people know that we focus and prioritize their safety as the resident and our employees, so that they don't get back injuries and these repetitive motion injuries. So just another add to Patty's, like I said, I think it starts with just leadership kind of taking that responsibility and say, hey, this might cost more, but we're gonna do this because it's better quality, and the industry has responded. We stay at 95% occupancy. People will recognize and want higher quality. They will want that. They're willing to pay for it.
All right, well, we've been asking a lot of questions, and I was just going to turn it over to the audience now, and we have one brave individual, so let's see what's on your mind.
I was just going to ask Reier to maybe elaborate. You said that you do nursing home and in-home care. How do you deal with the lifts in the in-home care scenarios?
That's a great question. So the in-home care, we will assist people with standby assist, or with one person where they can stand themselves, but we'll be there for just some balance and things like that. It's not a full body, a full weight lift. We don't do that in the home. That would be above what we're willing to offer. So in those cases, people might want to get their own in-home lift system, and things like that. But that's beyond what we do in our service package.
All right, who's next? Don't be shy.
So the overall idea is to get everybody home safely every day, correct? I mean, that's the idea. So what is the number one thing within all industries that you guys feel would be like the silver bullet, the one thing that would be the takeaway? How do we fix the issue, right? So we talked a lot about the issues. Pragmatically, where's the rubber meet the road?
I think we get a lot of our input from just being out there asking the people who are working closest to the situations. I mean, I don't have that unsafe of a job, being mostly in an office and things like that in meetings. But so the individuals that are, providing the direct care and having that dynamic relationship that they have with the residents, who sometimes are happy and sometimes not so happy, and being able to navigate. So just getting out there, and then how you gather that information is by fostering a culture that is accepting of input. So we celebrate people who turn in near miss reports, or good catch, I think we changed the name to, good catch reports. And their name goes in a hat and they win a gift card at the end of every month. So we really celebrate the people that are recognizing things, say, you know what, that might not be safe. So I'm gonna identify that. And then it just kind of breeds more people wanting to see them do that.
Wow, that's the question of the day, the silver bullet, right? That's why we're all here, and that's why this room is full, and that's why this conference actually has such great attendance over the years. I'm going to go back to what I learned. I wasn't here for the conference this year, but I looked at the pamphlet and I see what's being offered. So let me just say teamwork, coaching, culture, accountability, leadership, emotional intelligence, mental health, and communications. What are those? They're behaviors, right? So it's the human being that we need to address. The silver bullet is the individual standing behind the shovel versus the shovel. That's my concept on silver bullet, but it's a wide, broad scope, right? A lot of psychology and understanding of human behavior goes behind it.
I'm glad you said that. Because something that I think we need to have more conversations about is psychological safety, and creating an environment in our workplace where safety is not a bad word. And we do that, so you have folks that sit into a training. We all love, especially an 8-hour training day. Is there anything better? But where the rubber meets the road is when they go to perform their tasks on an everyday level. And so are you a safety individual, safety professional that's in the field? Just casually, just say, hey, I'm gonna come out and visit with people. And how do you engage them in those conversations? And tell me a little bit more about what you're trying to do today. And to go through step by step and to just say, show me your safe work permit. Okay, let's see your JHA, and say, man, I really like those points that you made. Have you thought about this, or have you thought about that? And getting people comfortable just with that concept. I came up through the ranks where, we had safety cops. And I'll be honest with you, I got run off, not because I was doing something unsafe, but because I brought something to someone's attention that was unsafe, and they didn't like it. And so we have to address those issues that sometimes people feel unsafe in their roles, that they don't have a voice, they're scared to say something. And so we really have to work a lot on that communication to make them feel comfortable in that space, to talk to us and to be responsive to those things. And on that subject too, if you're ever asked a question in the field that you don't know the answer to, be honest. When you're honest and you say, I don't know, that goes to building trust. And I don't think you're gonna achieve the right safety culture until you've achieved a sense of trust with your customers. And they have to know that you care. So that's where you're gonna start, and having those conversations. And what do people want from you? They want value. Safety has to provide that value in those conversations. And then they transition to, hey, you know what? You can do something for me, and you're useful to me. And it's amazing, because then that will change, that shifts the whole conversation. And before you know it, you have nurtured someone to become a safety leader in their own right. And that is an amazing thing when you can see that happen right before your eyes. But it doesn't happen overnight, so you really have to, remain very stalwart in that goal.
Great question. Thank you. I would say for construction industry, us personally, the biggest gap I see is training and making sure that the people understand the training that they're receiving. The days of the farm kids applying for construction and knowing how to run tractors and excavators and farm equipment are long gone. So the people coming into our workforce, we have to be training them properly to help them along, obviously, and coach them and teach them and care for them and just be there for them.
I'd probably follow up with that. I don't have the silver bullet. If I did, I'd be sitting on a beach somewhere and selling it in a book and doing all those fun things. But I think one thing that everybody could hopefully take away from this, I mean, you're here because you're in a safety role, you're out, you're dealing with your team members. You're a little bit of an extrovert, I would guess, right, in order to be in these roles. You have to recognize that when one of your team members builds up and has the gumption to bring a concern to you, and maybe you don't have the answer, maybe you say, hey, I'll get back to you, make sure you do. There's nothing worse than somebody finally building up the courage to ask a question or to bring a concern forward, and they feel like it falls on deaf ears. And so I would guess, one thing that I would add to this is when you're having those conversations, yes, it is okay and encouraged to, say, hey, I don't have that answer right now, but I will get back to you. And set a note in your phone or whatever, a reminder to say, hey, I need to follow up with this person, and do it. Because I think that helps build the trust. It builds credibility in you as a safety leader, and it makes it less difficult for that person to come to you again. So that's what I would add to that.
I got caught, I just ran away with my thoughts on that, and I did want to mention that. So when someone asks you a question in the field and you don't know the answer to it, to say you don't know is fine. Say that you will get back to them. And if you can't find the answer that day, let them know that you're still working on it. Shoot them a text, give them a call, and then follow up the next day. Even if it takes a few days, make sure that they know that you're thinking about them. And that works wonders because they're like, wow, this person really does care about me. And they're really working hard to find the answer to that complex question. And sometimes we have to meet with other people to get that answer because we don't know everything. So that is a really good point. I'm glad you shared that, Art.
All right, anything else from the audience? Yeah, we've got one over here. Probably time for one or two more from the audience before we'll have one final word from our panelists before we wrap this up.
You guys talked a lot about culture, and we're all here for the Get Home Safe program. Could you maybe speak to what your organizations are doing in the mental health aspect that's been quite prevalent over the last few years, other than your typical employee assistance programs? What have you guys seen? What have you guys experienced? What have you seen benefits in?
So just one small portion of one of our leadership programs that we are conducting right now with a lot of our internal folks and a lot of our external leadership is the psychological safety factor, right? It's a very short, very, very short introduction to what does it mean to have psychological safety, to allow others in and also the opposing. But to follow up on that question is we need to do more. So I appreciate you asking that question because we're all not doing enough.
I agree, we could definitely do more there. I mean, beyond the EAP program, we've got our online training that everybody goes through, and of course we have some coursework that touches on that, so at least they can maybe recognize signs and symptoms of stress and burnout. It's been a focus of ours over the last couple of years, just kind of how can we care for the caregiver is what we've been calling it. So we've been doing different things like just one, bringing it up, two, bringing in speakers, talk about mental health, mental wellness and things, and then even creating a little bit of kind of a mental break room, so that if somebody is just needing, you know, a 5-minute break, that it's a quiet place where they can go with kind of a sound machine in there and just try to calm down a little bit. It's also used for confession, so it's dual purpose.
We do have those rooms as well, particularly in our corporate offices, and I know that they're utilized by folks in those areas. One thing about kind of being out in the field, you can go out in nature anytime you want and try to become one with that. But we do have very stressful jobs. I have noticed in our organization that when people are going through a tough time, of course, they are referenced to the EAP, of course, but we have become a lot more sensitive to, you know, when people seem a little off. And when folks have to take time for themselves, they are not, I guess, put down for that. If they need to take a leave of absence, that's completely fine. We will cover their role. They don't have to fear losing their job, to take that time for themselves to work things out. And I think that means a great deal to people to know that I can still take care of my family, earn that income, but just right now, I need a little bit of help.
I don't have anything else to add.
And I recognize and I appreciate that question. I mean, it's one thing that, you know, we at WSI get asked about, right? Because we cover the physical injuries. And we're one of 12 states that do not have mental coverage. So a PTSD claim or things like that, it's been debated in the legislature for a number of years. The challenge from a agency perspective like ours is that it's very difficult to treat, and not one case is like the next. And so how do you implement programs? How do you make sure that you're moving the needle? How do you know that if you say you're going to offer 6 weeks care, that's going to be enough? Is it too much? Is it not enough? And so, unfortunately, in the workers' comp arena, I don't know that any state is doing that really well, but it is at the forefront. Our neighbors in Minnesota, they had implemented a mental program back in 2013, and it was unlimited. And I think, you know, there's help for the people that need it, but there were people that took advantage of it as well. And so they're now studying the issue on how that maybe from an agency perspective, they can offer some additional resources without bankrupting the system and the people that pay for it. So there's a study coming out on it in August of this year, and so we're certainly taking a look at that. But I think from a mental health perspective, just in my career, you know, the days of, oh, you know, you sissy, like get back in, like, you know, rub some dirt on it, get back in there. Those days are gone, because mental health challenges are real, and we all need to do our part to recognize that. And as great examples of what businesses are doing, you know, listed by our panelists, I think just what Jesse said is that whatever we're doing, we probably do need to offer more. One final question from the audience. Oh, we'll take the one right up front here.
Sorry. So I am in compliance, regulation and compliance, but I lean more towards environmental. We have 16 facilities in 5 states. So when I go down to visit them, there's a quick cleanup that happens before I arrive. So I am just wondering, Patty, you mentioned a little bit about when you show up on, you know, you can show up and do a site visit. Like, how do you kind of make sure that you're catching the things that you need to be catching, and any tricks to the trade? I'm a little bit new to the industry, but you know, they all know I'm going back to North Dakota. So when I go to Texas or Oklahoma or New Mexico, they're like, sure, we'll do that. And when do you leave? So I just am kind of wondering if you have any insight in that area.
Oh boy, do I ever. So one of the things that we do at Marathon Petroleum is we run an audit program. We refer to it as a collaborative audit. So we have folks from the West region visit the East region. And as auditors, we go through training for that. I am a lead auditor. And so last year, for example, I went out to Cadiz, Ohio, to a gas plant and a gathering system. And I can assure you, they did not want to see me or my team. But you know what? That's something that I anticipated. So what I did ahead of time is I had a few meetings with them. I made some introductions. I said, hey, I'm Patty. This is my team. This is what we're going to be looking for. And I want to assure you that no one is going to be in trouble. We are here to help. And so I'm excited to hear your feedback from that. We need to know, where are you struggling, so that we can have those open conversations about that. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to the eastern part of the country, but their culture is a lot different than ours. And the tone that they speak to each other is different, how fast they speak is different. And so I think you have to anticipate who your audience is and work very, very hard at building relationships with them. I invested a lot of time, me and my team, with getting to know those folks. What was amazing after we got done was that everyone was so complimentary. I mean, they had so much anxiety about us coming to visit, because that's the root of the matter, right? They're feeling like they're gonna get in trouble because they're not following the rules. So make sure that they understand what those things are that you're looking for, and that you are there to help, that you're not there to throw anybody under the bus. And then when you get there, really spend that time getting to know the people that you're working with. Try to have your body language be more relaxed. Know your stuff so that when they ask you questions about, well, why do we have to do that? Know that. Be able to explain the why behind that. And just view it as you're there to help them out. And I promise that eventually, I mean, through the course of your visit, they will begin to relax and become more open. Your next visit will go even better. And you just keep building on that. And you're gonna end up finding that they're gonna start reaching out to you for help. And I get calls from the folks out east frequently, or emailed with questions about, well, I'm struggling with this, what can I do? Or, you know what, this policy doesn't make sense to us, so is there something we can do about that? Then we can have a conversation about that.
All right, well, great questions from the audience. I'm about at the end of our session here. It went relatively quick, maybe, I don't know, for me, maybe not, I don't know. Hopefully there's been some great nuggets of information here, but just want to close out by asking each one of our panelists, you know, where do you see the next big opportunity in safety, and how do organizations prepare for that? Who wants to take it first? Everybody's looking at me like, oh, I thought we weren't going to get to that one. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. So I think the next big thing that we should be looking at is human organizational performance, or the HOP method. Now, if you think about it, and folks that get involved with injury events or have accidents, I promise you, they didn't go to work that day trying to screw up. But we have to be honest with ourselves. If we think that our employees are going to do the right thing 100% of the time, you know, it's just not going to happen. We're going to be disappointed a lot. So if we can, you know, I would encourage you to go online, do some research into the human organizational performance, what that looks like, so that you're looking at safety from a more human standpoint. Like Jesse, like you said, the psychological safety. And why we do the things that we do. That is a very big concept. So it goes from making safety punitive to working with individuals, seeing them as actual people, and empowering them to have that knowledge to make better decisions, and to find out what really motivates people.
Quick and dirty, I just try to motivate people by telling them, you're trying to work me out of a job. I should not have to exist in my role. Yeah. Operations owns the work, they own the project, they own the planning, they also own the outcome, which is the safe aspects of Get Home Safe. So work me out of a job.
Okay, in our space, the 65-plus-year-old crowd is going to be growing at 25+% over the next decade. The 18 to 64-year-old crowd is going to be growing at about 8%. So what that means is there's going to be more work to do with less people to do the work. And so we're going to have to embrace all the robotics, all the AI, all the technology we can, like we've already started trying to do with what I talked about earlier, and keep pushing that envelope, because we don't want to do more with less people, but we want to do more with the same amount of people, because that's all we have. That's all we have to work with. So,
I guess short for me, like I've said before, just keep investing in your people. They're our number one asset. So taking the time to appreciate them.
All right. Well, that is our time here this morning. I want to thank you all for checking out this session. Hopefully, I think a lot of good pieces of wisdom were imparted here. If we could, let's give our panelists, Nate, Patty, Jesse, Reier, a round of applause. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your support of Get Home Safe.